This is Change Your Mindset Podcast, the podcast that helps change your life by helping change the mindset of the 99% into the 1% mindset. Here's your host, Adrian Gomez.
Welcome back to another podcast episode of Change Your Mindset. As always, I'm your host, Adrian Gomez. If you are currently not a homeowner, more than likely in the future, you will never own a home. The reason I say this is because everything is going up. Since 1930, everything has gone up. Now I'll give you statistics. In 1930, houses cost average was $3,900. Car payment, $600. Rent, $216 a year. And the average income was $1,300. Now, 2023. The average house costs $436,000. Average car, $48,000. Rent, $24,000 a year. The average income, $56,000 a year. So going back to 1930, the average house was 3 times the average salary. In 2023, houses are 8 times the average salary. In 1930, a car cost 46% of the average salary. Now, 2023, a car is 85% of the average salary. Rent in 1930 was 16% of the annual income. Now, 2023, rent is 42% of the annual income. If you think houses are going to go down or drop, they won't. As you can see, over time, everything goes up, meaning houses will constantly go up. Let me give you more statistics. In 2020, you could get a house at $300,000 at a 3% interest rate. And with taxes and everything out the door, you'll be paying $1,800 a month. And today, in 2023, a $450,000 house at a 7.5% interest rate will cost you $3,800 a month. And in 2020, for someone to qualify for that house, you would need an income of $60,000. Now, in 2023, you would need an income of $120,000 to have a shot at this loan. And that's just an increase in 3 years. Mortgage costs are now almost 50% of household incomes, the highest ratio ever. And this is coming from the former chief economist for President Trump. And the cost of mortgages used to be around 20% of household income years ago. I'm going to read an article by the New York Post why most people Americans believe that they will never own a home. So this article is posted on June 23rd, 2023 by SWNS. Title is, 1 out of 5 Americans believe they will never be able to afford a home. Home affordability is so out of reach right now that 2 out of 5 Americans think they need to win the lottery to become homeowners. That's according to a recent survey of 2,000 current non-homeowners, only 53% of whom are confident in any way that they'll be able to own their own home someday. In addition to the 40% who think hitting a jackpot is their best chance at home ownership, 1 in 4, 26% believe they need to inherit money from someone in order to ever own a home. 1 in 5, 19% even said they'd have to marry someone rich. Overall, the average American thinks it would take them between 3 and 4 years to afford a home, and a third believe it would take them 5 years or more. Another 20% expect that they'll never be able to afford a home. Conducted by one poll on behalf of DV Homes, the survey also revealed that almost 6 in 10, 57%, non-homeowners would find it difficult to afford a house in their current neighborhood of residence. Despite that, 67% are still hopeful about the possibility of one day owning a home. More than 5 times as many as the number of people who actively describe themselves as hopeless, 12%. Another 19% describe themselves as frustrated, and 11% feel desperate. The changes in market dynamics and rise in interest rates are weighing heavily on would-be buyers, while over half, 52%, believe the current housing market is unstable. 46% believe that things will level out within the next 2 to 5 years. 17% feel the market will never return to stable, affordable levels. Respondents think they need to make an average of $76,000 a year to afford a starter home, and that they'd need at least $45,000 to afford a down payment on a starter home. Nearly half of the respondents, 44%, are willing to get a second job or a side gig in order to get closer to their goal of home ownership. The ideal down payment size would be, on average, 8% of the overall purchase price, which would make their ideal home worth just under $570,000. Those that dream of being able to buy a home in the next few years prioritize affordable monthly payments, 69%. The home being the right size for now and the future, 39%. And the location being ideal for their family's needs, 37%. However, 56% think they'd be denied if they tried to apply for a mortgage right now. Potential buyers are looking for alternatives to traditional mortgage financing or are stuck waiting for a reprieve from the rising rates and prices that keep so many of them renting and locked out of homeownership, said Adina Heifetz, co-founder and CEO of DV Homes. There are so many factors putting downward pressure on a potential homeowner's buying power. High interest rates, a lack of supply, increasing cost of living, that the starter home seems to be on the verge of extinction. Out of those respondents who currently rent, 47% worry about home prices getting more and more expensive before they can afford to buy. Throwing money away on rent was also considered one of the biggest drawbacks to not owning a home among 46% of respondents. In addition to feeling uneasy about the stability of their long-term living situation, 41%, and watching interest rates rise before they can afford to buy, 34%. Affordability is an overall problem. 63% of respondents said they often struggle to make ends meet, most commonly because of the high cost of living, 69%, and rising inflation, 56%. The traditional mortgage process was designed in the 1940s, when the norm was a single breadwinner with a steady W-2 income. The system has changed, even though the way we work, live, and form families is dramatically different. But today's younger buyers often lack long periods of income history and are increasingly non-salaried, working as a 1099 contractor, gig worker, or self-employed individual, Heifetz added. A majority of aspiring home buyers feel that home ownership is always just beyond their reach, that the American dream of home ownership is slipping away, and that it would take luck, extraordinary circumstances, or a serious change in the mortgage process to make it possible for them to own a home in today's economic climate. And that's the end of the article. Another reason why I say you would never own a home is because you're not competing with your neighbor or with another person that has a job. You are now competing with the biggest companies in the world at buying a home. So what makes you think that the average person who's living paycheck to paycheck, which is 60% of Americans, is going to be able to compete with companies like BlackRock and Vanguard that own millions, billions, possibly trillions of dollars compared to the average American worker? So I'm going to let you listen to a video by presidential candidate Robert Kennedy, how he talks about this exact situation people are living in.
More importantly, there's three giant corporations, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which own, collectively, they own each other, so it's really one giant corporation. But they also own 89% of the S&P 500. They own everything. They've now decided to buy every single family home in America. So if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030. They literally are trying to buy everything. And the head of it, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is on the board of that. World Economic Forum, and what they've said, we want this great reset, which is you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, they're on their way to making sure that we don't own anything. So you all probably have heard of people who are about to buy a home, and somebody comes in at the last minute with a cash or offer and snatches it out of the market.
Right.
And it's usually an LLC with an ambiguous name. But if you trace that up, you'll find it's owned by BlackRock.
Wow.
This is who the average American is now competing with. Companies like this. And I've heard stories before that people put in a bid for a house and now somebody else bought the house for cash, bought it straight out. And if you're even paying the exact price that they want you to pay for the house, what makes you think a company like this, like BlackRock, can pay above the asking price cash? There goes your chance of owning a home. The only way the average American can possibly afford a house now, which is more than likely going to be happening, is multiple families are going to have to live in one house to be able to afford the monthly rents. Fortunately, that's more than likely what's going to happen because incomes are not going up. Everything else around you is going up except your income. So how do you expect to pay for these mortgages and compete with companies like BlackRock? Multiple families are now going to have to live in a single house in order to survive. Because a single family, it'll be very difficult for them to survive in one house unless they already own the house or unless they bought the house previously years ago. This country no longer will be a country of homeowners. It will be a country of home renters. And unfortunately, rent is going up as well. So if people can't afford rent in apartments or even at homes, they will have to start renting out bedrooms. That's right, single bedrooms. And that's already happening. Average single bedroom is currently going for $500. And if someone can't even afford a bedroom, it'll get to a point inside that bedroom there'll be multiple beds and you will be paying for a spot in a bed. That's how crazy it will possibly or eventually will get. And this is what's going to happen to the middle class. They will be wiped out. There will only be rich and poor. Clearly, you're seeing this happening now. Everything is going high. People can barely make a living nowadays. People can barely afford kids. The average cost of a kid is around $300,000 for 18 years of their life. People can't even afford that nowadays. What makes you think the average American can afford a home? And you heard it from Robert Kennedy. And you heard probably before from the World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and be happy. People can't own homes. People can't own cars. People will not be able to own anything because they cannot afford it. And that is the direction we are heading. That is why it's very important to be financially educated. You can either make more money, get a side gig, or start investing your money. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. But you need to start making more money because everything is going up except your income. And if you're trying to buy a home in the future, I gave you the statistics and who are you competing with. So you need to stop spending your money on useless things, buying luxuries you don't need or going to events you don't need to go to, and start making more money or invest your money. More now than ever, handling your money and being financially wise with it is crucial. Because a lot of people still blowing the money. And if being a homeowner is important to you, you might want to think about relocating. Because obviously places like New York, California, Hawaii, house prices are skyrocketing. For an average single-story house, some of them are close to $1 million. Just for a single-story house that's been built in 1950. That's how far we've gotten. So you might want to think about moving to a different state where everything's cheaper and the costs are cheaper, especially the homes. But that is also the direction we are heading. So if you want to still have the American dream, which people say being a homeowner, you might want to get your finances right and start preparing, because houses will always go up. That's why these companies like BlackRock are buying houses, because people need to live somewhere, and where they're going to live? In houses. Houses will always be around. Rent will always be around. Houses will always be a great asset, no matter what. That's going to be it for this podcast episode. I appreciate you guys, as always, for listening. Hopefully you got some valuable information about homes, and hopefully you see what's coming. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Patron member Blade262, for being a Patron member and helping support this podcast. If you'd like to be a Patron member, the link will be in the description below. Please, as always, subscribe, share with other people to let them know what's going on in the world, and obviously helps the podcast and with the algorithm as well. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys again. I wish you the best. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Change Your Mindset podcast. Be sure to tune in every week for a new episode. As always, change your mindset to change your life.